You're locked into the Womanure Crush Wednesday podcast, the only weekly podcast inspiring, educating, motivating 1 million women entrepreneurs one Wednesday at a time. The WCW podcast is fueled by the purpose formula: passion plus purpose plus profit equals success. And here are your hosts, Jen and Modi.
Hey Crushes, this week's WCW is Donata K., a lawyer and former COO turned CEO. As the founder of her boutique law firm, Agency Attorneys, she has become one of the top choices in her niche for creatives, developers, digital agencies in the Chicagoland area. She's on a mission to help startups afford quality legal services and business advice. Tune in to this episode, and we dished about all types of stuff, including all these legal gems, to the importance of contracts, setting up good, well-defined and clear terms and conditions on a website, the importance of stellar customer service, networking, and authenticity. Crushes, be sure to leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, or a comment on SoundCloud, or wherever it is that you listen to your podcast. It really helps us to know that you're enjoying the show and loving the content that we are producing on this show. Also, if you found this episode helpful, would you take some time out to either tweet us the episode number and whatever is your takeaway, or if you are on Instagram, you can go to @WCW Podcast and leave us a comment on the episode post. Okay, Crushes, on to the episode. Hey, Crushes, this week we are so excited to have Donata K. of Agency Attorneys as our WCW of the week. Welcome, Donata, to the Womanure Crush Wednesday podcast.
Thank you.
Okay, Donata, so could you start us off by telling us a little bit of your Womanure story and your journey to entrepreneurship?
Sure. So I started my business about a year ago. And before I started my business, I was actually in software development. I was the chief operating officer of a software development firm here in Chicago until we got acquired. And I negotiated the acquiring, and after it was over, the purchasers actually were interested in me being their in-house counsel. So I decided to take all the things that I learned in law school and all the things that I learned in business, and I started Agency Attorneys last year.
Okay, so you're originally from Lithuania, correct?
Yes, I am.
So can you tell us a little bit of how your background in being new to the country and being an immigrant maybe shaped you as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I grew up in Lithuania until I was 12, and then I got here. But, we grew up with pretty much nothing. We would plant everything, including potatoes, of course, because we're Lithuanian. So we would plant everything in my great-grandmother's village and her gardens and stuff. And it just really taught me to just make things out of nothing. And I think that that's a really, really interesting experience, and it has taught me to, kind of work with many different kinds of people. I think it also helped me just appreciate our American culture as well, because so many people don't realize that Americans have a culture. Especially people who grew up here, but I got to be immersed in it in a very different way than somebody who grew up here. So I definitely have a pretty big appreciation for it.
So is that what led you to work more so with small businesses, because of that background?
Yeah, so that background really helped me understand what it's like to kind of come up from nothing and to really, work your patootie off to get even the smallest things that people are usually just handed.
Right.
So it has really helped me appreciate people who work hard and get things done on their own rather than somebody who's just, handed something.
Right.
Definitely.
So that's awesome. That's, that's humbling. That's a humbling experience, I bet.
Definitely.
So how did you transition from employee to CEO of your company, How did you transition? How was that?
So I was the COO, and for me, the job was really, I don't want to say lax, but I kind of got to determine my schedule and what I did every day. So the transition wasn't that hard, but it was difficult to kind of not have somebody to look up to up there, like a CEO who can tell me, hey, like, this is the decision we're going to make, or, this is what we're going to do with this client. Having to make your own decisions that impact your life directly really make you think through what's going to happen. Not that I didn't think through things when I was the COO, but it's definitely a much bigger impact when it's just you versus when you have employers.
Right.
Do you think even now that you're 1 year in, do you have any anxiety around that or making those decisions, or do you kind of feel scared at times? Or tell us how you feel 1 year in.
Oh, I mean, of course I'm scared. I think that everybody should be scared when they're in those types of situations. I mean, you're making big decisions, and as an attorney, I don't just make decisions for myself. I'm also making decisions for other people that impact their businesses. But for me, really, a lot of decisions have come very easily because I just present all of the options to my clients. I don't just say, hey, do this, kind of talk through it most of the time. And it really helps us make that decision. But, when it comes to making a decision for myself and for my business, yeah, of course, it's nerve-wracking. Just because, it's going to impact my life directly,
Right.
And so stepping out there on your own, after you were the COO, how did you go about finding your first clients?
So my first client was actually the company that I negotiated the sale with. So the company who bought the company that I used to work for, which I thought was pretty interesting since, I was trying to negotiate the best price and the best deal for the company that I worked for. But they actually ended up liking me, and that was my first client. But other than that, a lot of networking. I've been very fortunate to have a lot of referrals from my current clients, which is always so great, when somebody recognizes that you did well and well enough to actually recommend you to somebody else. It's huge. So networking groups, referrals, I do a lot of blogging, a lot of social media. So there's really no, success recipe, I don't think. I think, it's kind of finding stuff that you want to do. I like writing. So I end up writing a lot of, helpful tips and resources and stuff for people to access for free.
Okay. So how do you stay motivated as a solopreneur, so to speak? How do you stay motivated and organized to keep your head, in the game?
Well, you all have those moments of ups and downs when we're entrepreneurs. I mean, there's been many a time where things have been difficult. But, I just think I'm a very naturally motivated person. So I do as much as I can, whenever I can. And, I have people who are depending on me, to kind of do the right thing and, be successful or as successful as I can be. So that keeps me going.
Awesome. Now, I know that your target market is these small businesses and creatives. Yeah. And so, people, like you said, people are dependent on you to do the right thing. How did you confidently learn to set your rates and know what to charge, because of the people that you're targeting are startups? So how do you know what to charge so that you're paid for your worth and then, they're still getting a fair rate?
Yeah. So when I was working in software development, we were a small startup. So it was, 10 people roughly, and me and the owners. And, I just kind of by living that life, I mean, really, if we had the choice between making payroll or paying attorney's fees, well, we were going to make payroll every time. So I kind of thought about, at that time, what I would be willing to pay for an attorney. And it really, to me, it's not $500 an hour. It's just not. I just don't understand how that price works.
Right.
I also talked to a lot of freelancers and small business owners and startup owners to kind of determine and see whether the price that I was thinking would be the price that they were willing to pay as well. And I found that my clients are very happy with my pricing just because it doesn't gauge, it's not half of your budget, and it's an affordable cost and it's a good service.
Can I ask, what is a fair price do you think a startup should be paying for kind of putting together
legal documents and stuff?
Legal documents, just the basics that you need to start out. Lawyers charge differently. I can't speak for all of them. I can just speak for myself personally. It's $125 an hour. Okay.
And I'm in Chicago, which the market rate is like $500 an hour. And to be honest, unless you're like spinning gold, I don't think you should be charging $500 an hour for a small business or a startup.
That's honest.
Yeah, we appreciate your authenticity. That's what we're all about over here. So,
how can a business set up legal disclaimers in terms, and conditions for their, like if they wanted to start an online business?
Yeah, so I actually have a lot of clients who do that, and it's essentially terms and conditions and a privacy policy, which are two different documents. So the terms and conditions, so let's say you're selling something. The terms and conditions will talk about cancellations, refunds, customer service, complaints, things like that. Privacy policy will talk about, hey, we collect your name and email, or we collect your billing information and things like that. And those things are extremely important because, number one, clients like to see that. If I'm buying something online and they have a cancellation or refund policy, in my mind, at least personally, my first thought is, oh, they're legitimate. This is not some weird company where I'm just going to put my money never to be seen again. And also, in terms of privacy policy, there's a law in California that says that if you're collecting any personal information on your website and somebody from California visits your website, you can actually get fined $2,500 each time somebody visits your website from California, right? So, that's a lot of money if you think about it, each time somebody visits it. So you really don't want to open yourself up to that kind of liability. And, just in terms of protecting your business, there's so many things that you can put in there that can protect your business. You can say, we're going to do lawsuits, and let's say you're in Illinois. We're going to do lawsuits in Illinois only. So now I don't have to fly out to Colorado to do a lawsuit, which is so much money, right?
Right.
So there's a lot of things in there where you can protect your business, look more legitimate, customers like it. You're not having to pay all these things and fees. So those types of things are really the first foundation of your website. But also, if you're starting an online business, you should consider, forming an LLC or a corporation and things like that too.
Right. So what I was going to add, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I had a quick, it just came to my mind, and it's like, okay, when would you advise someone to even look for doing, if I just started an online business today, do I have to get all of these things today? Should I get them all today? Or do I give this business at least 30 days? Do I just have to do it right then and there? You know what I mean? Is there a time frame for it?
So, when you're opening up your own business, obviously you want to wait, right? So, you want to see, is this business even viable? But in terms of a legal perspective, the longer that you're open, without having these legal protections in place, the more liability you could potentially accrue. So in reality, it only takes one bad customer. What I tell my software development clients, you build a website, they're selling shoes, they sell $10,000 of shoes a day, and you broke the website, you did something wrong. Well, now you're liable for $10,000 if you didn't have a contract. So if at all possible, I would say do it now, even do it yesterday. before you even started, because really you could be potentially exposing your personal assets. So like you could lose your house or your car, things like that. Right. So when you think about legal protections, the cost is really, it's a pretty effective cost. Just because of how many things you're protecting at a given time, just by having these legal contracts and documents and stuff in place. Right.
So it's smart to at least wait, kind of. But then, I feel like every entrepreneur takes a risk all the time anyway. So, if you believe in it from day one, I think you should do it. From day one. If you believe in it, just do it.
Yeah, and I mean, as an entrepreneur, you're just by default exposing yourself to all this risk. But there's risk that you don't have to expose yourself to. It's like you're exposing yourself to all this risk because you're starting a business, but you don't have to expose yourself to a whole bunch of legal risk at the same time. You could mitigate those risks and just kind of protect your business.
Right. That brings me to another question. I once heard that if you're starting a business and it's an online business and it's mostly digital, like a blogger or vlogger or whatever, or you're selling digital products, before you even get to the selling part, should you wait? Because I once heard that unless you're selling and exchanging money, then I guess you have a little bit more leeway or lag time before you can register your business, Is that true, or is that a myth?
Sort of. I guess if you never sell anything, who is going to sue you for something, right? But one caveat to that is terms and conditions. So, for example, if you have a website where somebody can comment, right? So, like you put up a pair of earrings and somebody can comment, oh, how much I love these earrings, whatever. And, if somebody posts a logo that belongs to somebody else in those comments, then you could potentially get sued for that, even though you're not the one who put it on there. So in the terms and conditions, you could put in, there's actually a safe harbor provision that protects you in case something like that happens, and somebody can send you an email with all these things that you list out, and then you're safe. But if you didn't have those terms and conditions and somebody did it, even though you didn't transact any business, you can still be held liable. Same thing for privacy policy, right? So in reality, like, is somebody going to sue you because they didn't, even though they didn't buy anything from your website? Well, not really. I mean, what are they going to sue you for? Right. But, the moment you make that sale, you're already exposed, right? Instead of doing it a few days after you make your first sale and you're already exposed, the best way is to do it before you make your first sale, right?
True. Right. Thank you for those gems.
Of course.
I'm sure there's a blogger or someone out there that's
that needs to hear this.
Yeah, that needed to hear that one. So thank you.
Yes. So what drives you daily? I think that was kind of what I asked you earlier. But daily, what drives you and what keeps you creative?
So for me, I kind of got the courage to start my own business because I was kind of rebelling against the people who said I couldn't make it. The things that really get me up and ready for the day are really my clients. I have a lot of clients that I really like. I like to think that they enjoy hanging out with me because I enjoy hanging out with them. We go to each other's events and we support each other through, different phases of life and different phases of their business. So what really gets me going is just helping those people grow their business. I mean, there's nothing better than seeing or facilitating the growth of something, right? Mm-hmm. So, if I think about some of my clients, I think about them adding employees or moving to a better location, things like that. And that just makes me really happy because I'm like, I could help facilitate that. So that's kind of why I do what I do.
Interesting.
Awesome.
It is awesome.
You have to, I feel like if you're in a client service type of business, you definitely have to have that relationship with your clients and put them first, because I think even these days it's so see-through if you're not, so
absolutely. I mean, people understand other people, and I mean, I've met business owners who said that they were all about it, but they were all about themselves. And people can tell if you're like that right away. You just have to be yourself.
We know to this point you've probably made some big investments in your business, and you know the rules, you know the laws because you studied them. So what's the biggest investment you've made in your business so far? And is that now paying off for you, or is it a mistake, or where are you at with that?
So the biggest investment that I've made was join this group called the Chicagoland Co-Opvertising Network. And, I've been looking for networking groups. I'm a solo attorney, so I try to socialize with people as much as I can, just because I don't want to be closed off to the world. Right. And that's definitely one group that has allowed me to talk to people who are real. I found that in some groups it's all about joining so they can take your money or something like that. But the group is actually all about helping people and helping yourself by helping others first. And the founders of the group, Lisa and Jeff Levin, are really genuine people. I could tell right away that they're very real, and they're just normal people who you could sit down and talk to, and they weren't just trying to take your money and run with it. And I've met a lot of good leads and a few good clients through the group. So that was definitely the best investment that I've made.
So you have to live in Chicago for that?
Yes. Well, actually, there's one that they're opening up in Northwest Indiana, I believe. But it is mostly in Chicagoland now. Yes.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Definitely have to invest in yourself and your business as an entrepreneur, whether you're solo or have partners. It's a must.
Yes.
So, Donata, we have a mantra on the show that we call the purpose formula, and it's purpose, passion, profit equals success. We ask each one of our guests this same question, but could you tell us what's your purpose formula?
To me, my purpose is helping small businesses and startups get protected and get started, and just let the owners do what they like doing. So if I'm a florist, I don't want to spend all day fighting with people about legal problems. I want to do florist things. Not quite sure what that is, but you know what I mean, right? So for me, that's my purpose, is allowing people to do what they're actually meant to be doing rather than dealing with all the paperwork and the messiness that I deal with. And that's my purpose. My passion is actually contracts, believe it or not. So I actually really enjoy writing them. I like to just sit down and write. It's what I like to do. And I know it's not for everyone. It's not for most people, because most people look at me and they're like, how do you not get bored? But it's actually very exciting for me. And I love learning about contracts and writing them and talking to people about them. What was the last part?
So basically your recipe for your success that you have reached thus far.
Oh, I think I understood that question wrong. Okay, sorry about that.
No, it was fine. That it's everyone's own personal interpretation and answer, so it's no way to be wrong.
To me, if I would actually give one type of recipe, for me, the only thing is hard work. I don't think that I'm smarter than anybody else. I don't think I'm a better writer than anybody else. I just think I work hard. And for me, that's really been one consistent thing throughout my life, is just you sit down and you do your work. You don't really need to do much of anything else, really. If you sit down and you work hard, you're going to get there.
That is awesome.
We love that. Totally agree.
Inspirational. So I'm just going to give you a little scenario, and then maybe you'll be able to answer. Okay. I just started law school, and I need some advice. and I would need you to let me know, to give me at least 3 things that I can impart on in law school or in life, just to get to know, like, what you did. You know,
Okay.
If you wanted to give someone some advice, what would you give them? 3.
Yeah. So first, read the case law. A lot of people don't want to do homework, but in law, it's actually really, really important. A lot of the cases that you're going to read are going to seem really old and outdated, and they might not even be good law anymore. But the reason why you're actually reading those is to understand the process of how a case goes to court, and also the mental processes that judges go through to decide a case. So most cases are not black and white, and a lot of times, they're colored by people's perceptions or, certain facts that happened or whatever. And it's very important to understand the mental processes that judges go through to get to that end point. Number 2 is classes that you don't think that you're learning a lot in, you're actually learning the most in. So what they're going to do to you in your first year is they are going to make you think like an attorney. Now, this doesn't mean you're going to come up with answers. Most of the time in your first year, there's not going to be very many answers to anything. It's mostly developing the ability to think like an attorney. So to think analytically, to look at all the evidence, to be able to come up with 10 different views of the same sentence. And lastly, I would say use law school as an opportunity to grow. Go talk to your teachers, go find a mentor, go to different groups, and just absorb what other people are like, absorb what the thoughts of other people are. Why? Because there's a lot of attorneys out there who are actually really friendly and really nice. And developing these relationships early is extremely important. And growing up together with your classmates is extremely important. And learning from attorneys who are now your professors, who have spent 20, 30 years. If you spend just an hour in their office, that time is worth more than some of your classes are going to be worth, because they want to impart that knowledge to you. During your first year, it might not even seem like it, right, because it'll be very difficult to just understand what they're even talking about. But they do want to impart that knowledge, and they do want to see you succeed. So just take that time and just be there and observe what's happening.
So is it true that if you do not survive the first year, you just can't make it as a lawyer?
I'm not sure, because my first year I had no idea what was happening. I just literally had no idea. It only took me. I had to be in my second year to just understand what law school was even about.
Wow.
So, if you don't make it your first year, I would say try again. Because you never know. You might take a year off and you might learn a lot and you might become better than everybody else. I just think that it's something that people shouldn't necessarily just draw that line. I think it's a process, and my first year, I didn't get the best grades ever. I mean, when I was in high school and college, I was all A's. And in law school, my first year, I would be the first to admit it, I wasn't. But that was okay. I mean, it wasn't okay to me at the time. I was really hard on myself. But now that I look back on it, that's fine. Nobody's going to penalize you if you didn't, do so well your first year.
Right. I think you said a lot of things that could be used and you had some takeaways that are not just related to young lawyers or people pursuing the law field. One question that I did want to ask that came to mind, though, is you're not only just a lawyer practicing law, you're a consultant in the digital space, basically, because you have clients. How do you stay organized? I see you have, the listeners can't see, but there's a little
Yeah, there's a thing there.
The paper organizer back there, a file organizer. How do you stay organized between your contracts, your research, your clients, your taking your payments and all that, paying your taxes, all those things? How do you stay organized with that?
So there was this one governor or whoever who said that he has binders full of women. So I got binders full of paperwork. Yeah. For me, it's binders on binders on binders. And, I have my multiple to-do lists. I have my planner that I would probably just lose my mind if I lost it. So for me, my preferred method of getting organized is writing stuff down. And for me, it's on paper. A lot of people like the online calendars, which is fine. Everybody has their own method. But for me, I have to have lists, and I have to use a planner, because otherwise everything's just going to get away from me and it's just going to implode. So, I spend a fair amount of time just organizing everything every day, and prioritizing things.
Do you have an assistant, or are you doing everything yourself?
No, I'm doing everything myself.
Wow.
It's possible. It's not that bad. I mean, you can just, I'll show you my planner. This is my planner.
Is that the day job?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We just talked about that last night.
Yes.
I love this thing. It's so pretty.
Mm-hmm.
It is beautiful. What's next for Donata K and agency attorneys?
Good question. So for me, I'd like to kind of stay solo for a little while. But my plan is to bring on a few more attorneys in the next few years. And I plan with working with the same type of clients that I'm working with now. I'm having a great time so far. So just kind of expanding my client base and hiring a few more attorneys, but keeping the same mentality and same processes.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
So you're looking to scale, get bigger, take over Chicagoland.
Yep, exactly.
That's awesome. So whenever we're in Chicago, we will be calling you.
Hey, let me know. We'll go out for drinks or coffee or
tea.
Definitely. We put it in the day planner. We'll let you know.
Yes.
In the always trusty work day planner.
So where can you be reached? Where can our crushes reach you? What are your handles?
So my website is agencyattorneys.com. My email is Donata, DONATA, at agencyattorneys.com. My phone number is 312-391-4341. And pretty much all my handles on social media are at Agency Attorneys.
Awesome. Thank you so much today for gracing us with your presence. I believe our crushes will enjoy this episode.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you for being our WCW of the week.
Thank you. Yay.
Thanks for tuning in to the Womanore Crush Wednesday podcast. Be sure to tune in next week for Girl Talk with Jen and Modi, along with some of your favorite business crushes, more exclusive business tips, insights, creative business ideas, and doable action steps to improve your business and help you create your phenomenal life. Sharing is caring. Don't forget to tell a friend to subscribe and stay tuned for a weekly dose of the WCW podcast. Crushing hard on the Womanore and want to hear her story on the show? Know a creative woman-owned business that's killing it? Let us know at womanorecrushwednesday@gmail.com.